Hello, we are calling from Beyond the Void. It's the Disenfranchised podcast. We're that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, and joining me, as always, it is Tech49 Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hi, it's me, Tucker. How's it going?
We're going pretty well. Tucker, you would say that we are an effective team?
I would say that we are an effective team, yes.
Excellent. I don't have to push this button.
Okay, good.
Speaking of effective team members, our co-host Brett Wright is currently down on the planet's surface investigating a disabled drone. We wish him a very happy and speedy return.
Tell him, fuck you, Sally. Tell him, fuck you, Sally.
Fuck you, Sally.
Dumb bitch.
Until then, we are joined by one of my old friends. I have invoked him on this podcast many times. A man once known by many as Greetings, now simply known as Andrew. Hey, Andrew, how we doing?
Another day in paradise.
Right on. Andrew and I went to college together, many decades ago. And you reached out to the podcast. It probably has been a couple years ago now because I am bad about things. But you reached out a couple years ago and said, hey, you guys should cover Oblivion on the podcast. Yeah. And so we are covering today at your behest, the 2013 Joseph Kosinski film Oblivion, starring Tom Cruise, Morgan Freeman, Andrea Riseborough, Olga Kurylenko, Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Melissa Leo, and Zoe Bell, among many others. What a cast! Dare I say it, what a picture.
Hey, did you know that the director guy wrote the book that this was based on?
He wrote
that shit?
He wrote it basically as a visual conceit for this movie.
That's nuts. I just found out about that.
Yeah, the research that I could do on that graphic novel, because that's what he did, it never came out.
No, it was literally just for the movie.
Right. There were apparently some samples that was given out at a Comic-Con or some convention like that. And that's what some people have online of it. But it does have a Goodreads page.
Oh, right on.
It never came out. But here is one of the reviews that I found was very funny.
Oh, I love this.
My band, M83, worked on the soundtrack to the movie adaptation. Smiley face. Smiley face with a capital D. Unfortunately, it stars Tom Cruise. But Morgan Freeman co-stars, so is all put right. Must read this soon.
This soon. Good luck, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Morgan Freeman's second build in this film. In the movie, about 7 minutes total.
Right. Yeah.
Second build.
That's one of my biggest complaints about this movie, but we'll get into that, I'm sure. First, though, I do want to know, Andrew, why Oblivion?
So this was in a time period where there were a lot of really good one-hit sci-fi movies coming out. Mm-hmm. And Tom Cruise was responsible for a lot of these. This was the year before it's the
Edge
one
of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. That's what it was called.
That's the one I always get it conflated with in my head.
Yeah. Well, it had another name, didn't it?
Live Die Repeat is the name of the book.
Yeah.
Live Die Repeat. That's right. Yeah, which is actually getting a sequel pretty soon here.
That's what they keep telling us. They've been telling us that for over a decade now. So I guess I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. So not only was that in a series of sci-fi movies that I remember going and watching and remembering positively, but it was also premium cheapo theater time for me. So I saw this at one of those $1.50 theaters where the hot dog was also $1.50.
Hell yeah.
Second run.
You snuck your own beer in anyway.
Yes, you did.
And I just remembered it being really good and thinking about it and then wanting to go home and say, I wonder if there's anything else about this movie. And it just didn't exist much on the internet. And the thing that I thought...
I hate to tell you, it still kind of doesn't.
Yeah, right.
A
There was
damn shame.
there was an article I found that was like the 10-year anniversary of saying, "Hey, this is an underrated movie. You should go watch it." And
This is a movie of all time.
yeah, this is a movie of all time. Yeah. So I was thinking when I first watched it, like, this would have been an excellent open world video game.
Yes.
Ooh, and what with the clones and everything, and you'd
Yeah.
be figuring that shit out.
Yeah.
Like you'd start the game and you'd think you were just doing kind of like a survival kind of deal.
Right.
And then you
Right.
find out about that the aliens aren't aliens and that there's more of you. And I'd play the shit out of that game, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't want it spoiled. Like I'd want to like don't
Mhm.
spoil it for me if it
Yeah.
becomes a game.
Right.
Developers.
Right.
I don't
Well,
know
they
how you're gonna
wouldn't.
sell it without spoiling it, but
I can just imagine like the scene where they finally force you to go through the radiation zone and you discover the twists.
Right.
Because
and that whole
that's-
time you're like, oh, better not go there.
Right.
Do.
Right. And they even showed it in the movie the way a lot of video games do it. It's like, hey, if you cross the radiation zone, your engine's cut out.
Yeah.
You no longer have control, so you better get back. So though I enjoyed this as a movie, the better art form for this plot and this environment would have been an open world video game.
I'm
I'd
inclined
play
to
that.
agree with you on that.
Yep.
For
And
sure.
then second in movie or in art form would have been, well, the graphic novel, because that's what they did it.
Right.
So we'll call this third like 8-episode brief series.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they
Yeah.
could have done is that they could have done the Tech 49 plot all the way through to the point where he just gets killed.
Right.
And then they start the exact same plot over in the second episode.
Oh, you mean like Moon?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like Moon. And then you just kind of figure it out after a while. Yeah, he eventually gets with the scavs, because you have to shorten scavenger.
Right. You can't just have a thing called what it is in a sci-fi movie, particularly a futuristic sci-fi movie. The nature of slang is that we
it's
just
only
shorten
50
everything
years.
down. Yeah.
Yep.
I liked them. They reminded me of the costumes. Reminded me of the Rippers in Tank Girl. Had a Ripper vibe to the costumes.
Yeah, I guess. Well, they had the braids. I guess.
Not have tails, but other than that, yeah.
If you have stealth braids, nothing says stealth like braids on your
Sure enough.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, look at the Predator.
I was going to say, if it's good enough for the Predator, it's good enough for me, quite frankly.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So I did go home. There was a video game made of this, but it was made for like the Motorola Razr. So yeah, so it was this tiny like arrow, almost like
Garbage game.
What's that? Mush up, whatever the abbreviation is, where you just shoot straight forward and there's aliens that come at you.
We're gonna call it a shoot 'em up.
Oh, shmup. That's right. Shoot 'em up.
Oh, you said it. Oh, it hurts inside. You know what? So like, I don't like the term shmup. Like, you can keep using it. We're still friends, whatever.
Okay.
But what I thought was funny is like there was a game. I was looking through the all the discounted games on Xbox yesterday, and there was a game called like Shmup Collection.
Oh yeah.
But on the box art, it was spelled wrong. It was SHUMP. Shump. So from now on, they're shumps to me. Play your shump. I think it was like $1 that game on sale.
Yeah.
I wonder what like it was before it was on sale, but shump.
It's a video game format made for the arcades. You know,
Absolutely.
Right.
Stuff
you're
like
gonna go through your
Raiden,
1942,
stuff like that. Yep.
With the bombers. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, this 2013 is kind of the year for one-off sci-fi. To kind of circle back to an earlier point, you've got this movie, Oblivion, previous episode, Ender's Game. You've also got After Earth and Elysium, which kind of seem to have like share a lot of like similarities in common with this movie. I was getting very real After Earth vibes. You've also got, speaking of a Desolate Earth, you've also got Snowpiercer coming out in 2013. Like, this is kind of a critical mass for this kind of movie. And it it's very bizarre that like all of this kind of collects around, and I don't know, we kind of don't remember any of those. I think with the exception maybe of Snowpiercer, because that's kind of the standout.
Look,
But
I remember these only because I was telling Andrew this before we started recording. Around this time, my roommate was a manager at a family video, so she was just tossing me digital codes, right? So
right.
every film that you just named, Steven, is
Mhm.
on my Voodoo. Bet. Every single one on my Voodoo.
You had this one up there,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
did you have it?
Elysium's on there.
What list on your Voodoo did you have this movie under?
I had it on Chuffa because I hadn't watched it because I'm like, well, that looks dumb. But boy, I tell you what, it switched lists, Steven.
Oh,
It
okay.
did. It's on the no Chuffa list now, bud.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at you growing as a
It
person.
graduated. It got promoted. After Earth is still on the Chuffa, though.
I think that's where it belongs. One day we'll do our Will Smith, our Will Smith, what do we call it?
That's
uh,
right.
Theme month?
Theme month. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Wild Wild
One day
West.
we'll do Wild Wild West and Hancock and
Wild
After
Wild.
Earth.
Wiki,
and-
wiki, wow.
Well, you see, I could not remember which movie you were talking about it because you said it wrong. It's After Earth.
Welcome to After Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually did watch Independence Day not that long ago. He does say Earth pretty clearly. I don't know why
Yeah.
we Mandela effect an F on the end of that for him, but
Racism, man, it's killing us all. I'll tell you.
he does actually enunciate that TH, but whatever.
Quite clearly. Make
we-
sure to mention that to him if you ever meet him. Tell him
Yes.
he's really great at enunciating. He's very what's the word?
Nope.
Yeah.
Articulate.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not doing it.
No?
You should totally use that
Okay.
word around him. Yeah.
You should say that. Yeah.
Nope. Not gonna do it.
Also, if you're ever talking about him on a live news program, you should use that word around.
Yeah, definitely.
God.
You know one thing about the Fresh Prince? And fill in the blank.
Here's something. I like my face as unslapped as possible. I will
Speaking
just
of
say
the
that.
Fresh Prince, can I tell? I want to share a story with you guys, completely off topic, just real quick, just to gauge like how mad you would be about this. Okay, so I ordered a record off of Discogs. It was a Fresh Prince record. That's why I thought of it, because we were talking about the Fresh Prince. And so I ordered a record off Discogs, and Discogs is a marketplace. Like I'm not ordering it from Discogs. Like someone
Sure.
is selling it on Discogs. So I buy it. I pay the person. 5 days goes by. The status of the sale is not changed to shipped or anything. I haven't heard anything from this guy, and so I send him a message, and I'm like, "Hey man, like, what's up? Like, you gonna straight up send me that record?" And today I get a message, and he's like, "Oh, I can't find it. Sorry." He cancels the order, refunds my money, and I'm like, "What do you mean you can't find it?" And he's like, "Oh, I have like 8,000 records, dude. I just can't find it."
You don't list
I'm
something
like, well,
for
look-
sale unless you have it on hand
Thank
to sell.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steven.
How-
That's what I said. I said, you don't put that shit up there if you don't know where the fuck it is. And
We
honestly,
live in a society, people. Come on.
just find it. I want it bad enough to where I will wait for you to go through your records and find it. But
Do they
no,
not post
I
a
do-
live picture?
No.
Okay.
It's not like, okay, so on Discogs, stuff is you look up an artist, it shows
Mhm.
their releases, you click on the release, and you show it, and you can click another link that shows every way that was released. It was released on vinyl when it was initially released, cassette tape, CD. 10 years later, they did a reissue on vinyl, and you just click on the one you're looking for, and then you see a list of sellers. There's no they do a little description, but there's no picture or anything of it. They'll tell you like what kind of condition it's in. So yeah, I don't know. I just really wanted that record, man.
This seller was not a fan of the movie High Fidelity, or the book High Fidelity for that matter.
Apparently not, because
If
he would have had
they-
it organized better.
Yeah.
Chronological,
multiple-
autobiographically, maybe even.
by color, by mood, depending on who last broke up with him.
Exactly.
That just seems like a completely, I don't know, that filing system seems completely out of hand to me. I would never be able to keep track of that.
I used to do, I did at one point when I had the most physical media I've ever had as far as films go. This was like 2005. And I once did them by genre chronologically.
Mm,
So the year they came out
mm.
by genre. And that was, I mean, after I got used to it, that was pretty easy. Like when I look at my Voodoo stuff, I put it in chronological because that's the easiest way for me to find stuff on my Voodoo. So I don't know. Anyway, my history with this movie, I just told you.
You
Like
told
I
us.
got it as a digital code, then I never watched it, and now I watched it and I thought it was fantastic. Steven, what's your history with this movie?
I remember seeing a trailer for this movie. Somehow I knew I didn't watch it until earlier today, when I watched it for this podcast. But somehow I knew that this movie had clones in it. Like somehow I knew that.
Oh, that's too bad for you
sad.
because that was a big surprise for me. I was like, what the fuck? 2 Tom Cruises? Good thing no one has a bandana on or else I'd be confused.
It's desert
It
camo.
really was
Tom
helpful.
Cruise.
That was helpful, honestly. Because at one point I was like, wait, which one is... Oh, bandana. Got it.
Man.
Thank you, filmmakers.
But here's the thing: as soon as I saw that one had the bandana, I forgot which one. I forgot if the one that we'd been following up to this point had a bandana or not. I was like, "Wait, had he been wearing that the whole time?" And I'm just now noticing it. Like, what's going on?
No, dude.
I'm just imagining their art sketches for the costumes of what about a beach Tom Cruise? What would beach Tech 53 or whatever be dressed in?
His job is just beach.
Yes, his job is just beach.
Just the different Tom Cruise skins
Yeah,
that they'd have, you know.
That we just cycle through for this movie. I mean, there's at least 52 that we know.
Here he is with a little tiny hat. Boop.
Yeah,
right.
And those that like sits on the like. Do you remember the Damon Wayans on in Living Color? And he he had the hat, and he was playing a homosexual person. Might be homophobic. I'm not sure. I haven't watched it in a while. But he
probably
has the little.
is. It was the 90s. It probably was.
It was in Living Color. Very likely so.
He had the little tiny hat, and it just kind of sat right here on his head. You know what I'm talking about?
He had a puffy shirt too. Puffy, shiny shirt, I want to say.
Yeah.
That showed a lot of male cleavage.
Yeah.
Meavage is what we call it. Yeah.
Meavage, yes.
I still love that show, you guys. I quote it all the time whenever somebody's talking about getting a job or whatever. I'm like, he got 3 jobs. Because remember the Jamaican family that had all the jobs?
Yeah.
And
I feel like I've been job hunting for the last 6 months. I think you've never said that to me the entire time.
Because you only had 1 job, you lazy butt. You didn't have no job.
Yeah, that's more accurate. Yes.
You got to have at least 3 job.
Anytime you're like, anytime anyone's talking about a job, I'm like, I've been doing nothing but talking about jobs for 6 months.
Yes, you didn't have a job, Steven.
Well,
that was the whole deal. Yeah. That's why.
You know, I'll say this off mic. But yeah, never mind. Moving on.
Good. Wait, what's up?
Yeah, no, but
history,
I remember seeing the trailer for this movie, and I knew there were clones in it, and I'm sitting there, and the fact that Morgan Freeman shows up in the marketing, the entire time I'm just sitting there waiting for Morgan Freeman to show up, and he doesn't show up till like an hour into this damn thing.
Yeah, he's like, I'm finally in this movie. And
I'm just like, well, I mean, the marketing did this movie absolutely no favors whatsoever.
Yeah.
In like, they couldn't even, Tucker, you were like, if they develop it into a video game, don't spoil it. They can't even market the movie without spoiling it. Like,
that's why I'm glad I never saw any trailers or anything. I went in fresh today and had the time of my life.
I actually did rewatch the trailer again after I watched the movie just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind that there weren't any reveals about the clones in the actual trailer. There weren't, so I don't know how I came upon that knowledge, but I knew it. I knew it going in.
I did not know it going in. I remember very specifically getting all the surprises. And then even on this rewatch, I remember just looking at those pieces. Oh, they revealed that so well. It would have been so nice to have that surprise over again.
Right.
Because I've got this thing about favorites. Like when people say favorite movies, I have a hard time like doing the giant tournament bracket of all the movies I've ever watched in my head in those 5 seconds to tell them a favorite movie. So I just think about like, well, what's the last movie that I wish I would have watched again for the first time? And this one's up there.
Nice.
I would like to have my memory erased. It's been 5 years since my
Every
standard
5
memory
years,
erasure.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Tom Cruise in this movie style,
right.
baby. Yeah, I was impressed at just the number of science fiction movies this movie cribs from, and does so fairly well. But like it's got kind of the After Earth Elysium Wally kind of thing going for it, with like the barren Earth, and like with the small crew left behind, feels very Wally, but also very Moon, where the clone thing also comes
Mhm.
in. Um,
There's a lot of Matrix in this too.
there's a lot of Matrix, a lot,
Yeah.
particularly Morgan Freeman is basically just channeling Larry Fishburne from like 10 years earlier.
I
Um,
guess I'm Morbius.
I mean, particularly there's the shot, the first shot you see of him where he's like lighting his cigar, and he's there smoking his cigar in a big armchair with the sunglasses, and you're just like, oh, okay, yes, I completely understand what this is, or what this is supposed to be, what they're trying to do here.
Do you think
With
they wanted Larry Fishburne for it initially?
maybe
And he'd
here's
be
the
like,
thing,
"Hello, Tom Cruise."
I almost wish that they didn't have a name, because then they wouldn't be tempted to like put it in all the marketing. Like someone like a Brian Cox or like a Michael Ironside in this
Yeah.
role, someone not big enough that you're going to plaster their name all over everything, someone the audience isn't going to really see coming, but someone that still has the kind of gravitas you need this role to have, I feel would have probably served the movie a lot better.
Well, I think the casting kind of tries to give the role more meat on its bones than it actually has. And like that's fine, like the role's fine as it is, but to have
Right.
Morgan Freeman there, it's like, why do you have Morgan Freeman? You could get somebody else and
You
it would
have him for the
probably
instant
be,
gravitas. As soon as you see him, this guy is important. Why? Well, he's
I
played by
guess,
Morgan
but
Freeman.
I mean, yes, sure, but I don't know. I mean, Morgan Freeman was fine in this movie. I'm not like saying
No, I think
Right.
he was bad,
he's
but
fine. I'm just saying, like,
it's just a weird choice.
it doesn't, that casting feels lazy and doesn't really serve the movie, in my opinion.
Right. And you almost think that those times when he went on the soliloquies about what Earth used to be like, and every time he did a little bit of lore dump, it's almost like they didn't give him a script for that. They just gave him an outline and said, Morgan Freeman this up a little bit.
Right.
And so we got Andy little
It's
story
like,
there.
I saw him destroy the moon. I was in San Juan Taneo.
Yeah.
I
That was the
I
longest night of my life.
I just driven your mama to the store.
Yeah. These the drones I want to take down before I kick the bucket.
Because Jack Nicholson.
Oh my god. Yeah. So essentially, yes, all of this. But again, I just, the voice of God as, our guerrilla fighter leader person.
He's not just the voice, Steven. He is God in
That's
Bruce
true.
Almighty. He
And
straight up
Evan Almighty.
is.
And
Yep.
Evan
Yeah.
Almighty. The reason
When
we
the
can never cover
Almighty-
Bruce Almighty on this podcast.
In the
Yeah.
Almighty cinematic universe, it is consistently Morgan Freeman.
It is
Physically
consistently Morgan
and
Freeman.
vocally embodying G-O-D.
I'm pretty sure he had that nickname before Evan Almighty and Bruce Almighty.
Probably.
And then
That's why they
someone
cast
just said
him
like,
as a
"Oh yeah,
joke.
let's just put him there." Yeah.
Mhm.
See
But
how
again,
many people we can piss off with a black god.
No, the writer's room is like, when you think of God's voice, who do you think of? And they all say it once at the same time, Morgan Freeman.
One guy in the back, Orson Welles.
Oh, well, too late for that one.
He's dead. Shut up. Oh, sorry. No, but again, I mean, like that's why I think they want Morgan Freeman for this role, because he's God. Like, and
Yeah.
I think that's one of those mimetic things that's kind of stuck around through the years since Bruce Almighty. That, well, of course, Morgan Freeman. Who are you going to get to play God? Well, it's Morgan Freeman. Like, and so who do we get to play our benevolent, wise, all-knowing guerrilla leader? Well, we get Morgan Freeman. It's just, again, it's just a straight line. It's super easy. And it feels a little lazy. Like, we don't have to work for this. It's all right here. Whereas you get someone like a Michael Ironside, maybe give him an eye patch and like keep the cigar, and that's a same amount of gravitas, but it's someone you don't you're not gonna see coming, but still someone you recognize.
This is a Stacy Keach role.
Ooh, his job is just Keach.
Yeah, dude. I was just thinking about how rad you said eye patch, and I was like, Stacy Keach.
Keach, I do love Keach. I do love Keach.
Can we do that?
I'm okay with Keach.
So I was thinking, like, at this time, yes, he was well known, and it probably cost him a lot to get this, but the listed cast is only like 8 people.
Right.
So all their budget went to the special effects and all that, and
which
even
looked
like
great, I think.
Oh yeah, and then even
no,
thinking about the different scenes that he was in, like maybe he was on set a week in. Oh, it was all soundstage stuff.
Yeah,
because every
Morgan
other
Freeman?
time, yeah,
3 days tops.
Yeah,
tops.
You get a pro like Freeman, he's in and out of there.
Yeah, and it was all soundstage, and the scenes where apparently his character was out looking. He was in a helmet, conveniently. So,
could have been anybody.
A week on set and a box of these cigarettes that I'm going to smoke on stage or on camera. Which, by the way, I slow rolled the credits to catch all that stuff, and there was a disclaimer about alcohol use is not, or the tobacco use is not meant to promote tobacco use, but rather is an artistic choice.
Even though Morgan Freeman looks rad as hell with a cigar in his hand.
He does.
They're legally obligated to do that.
They are.
Yeah, but were they
anytime they're smoking?
I guess that was the case in 2013 too.
That's I was going to say, when did smoking like become something that the MPAA cracked down on?
I feel like it would have been
2000s. I was going to say early mid 2000s,
2010s.
Yeah. Oh, gee, don't get me started on the MPAA.
Oh, I mean, we
did you guys see that documentary? This film is not rated. Y'all motherfuckers see that shit?
I love that. When I saw that, I immediately lost any credibility I had with the ratings. My life of being forced into PG-13 and below movies at our Jesus college shattered. Just fell apart when I saw that documentary.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen this, Steven? You heard about this, Steven?
I've heard about it. I've not seen it, and I just feel like it would just make me viscerally angry in a way that few movies, like something like in a way that only something like Jesus Camp can just make me viscerally angry.
Oh, that's upsetting. I cried at that movie.
That movie,
like I was so upset. Like I could not believe.
So angry. So angry.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
that documentary, I think it actually ends kind of funny. Because they go through all these stories about having to redo ratings, and then the final bit of it is following up with the private investigator they hired to track down all the members of the rating committee. And then they just, like, as they pulled in, put who they were, how old they were, and like what kind of family they had, and most of them were childless. And that's the whole reason why they convinced the government to not step in and rate the movies themselves.
Exactly.
Because of child damage, that Tipper Gore stuff.
And it's they chose to do it internally so that the government wouldn't step in. It was the same as like the Comics Code Authority in the 50s.
Well, and even with video games, they like when it comes down to it, they're like, all right, okay, no, you don't need to do it. We'll take care of it. And I think that's been every form of media has kind of done that, even television with the television ratings.
I remember television kind of getting late to the game on that with like Y and Y7 stuff.
That was late in my childhood when that shit started. Very late.
So man.
Yeah,
you know what other movie this movie is like? Total Recall.
Oh, kind of.
All that memory shit and this is my wife. No, wait, you're my wife. I kind of remember you, kind of not really. Solaris, too. It's got a lot of Solaris. You know what has seen Solaris? Soderbergh or Tarkovsky, I guess. But yeah.
I was going to say which one. No. The answer is no on both counts. Though I want to see them both. Same with Moon.
Moon's good. That's
Isn't
like
that a remake too?
I don't think so. It's like the original Duncan
No.
Jones movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, America runs on Duncan Jones.
Son of our good friend David Jones, also known as David Bowie.
Ducky Jones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There were 2 Total Recall movies, right? It was remade.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we can
But it was
cover
so
both
boring.
of them.
No, I don't want to do. No, don't make me watch. Steven, don't make me watch it again.
I think that the new one is a little bit better. It's at least better
so
looking.
boring. It's so boring. It's the most boring movie I've ever seen in my life.
But that's
One with Colin Farrell,
Philip K. Dick book, right?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
we can remember it for you wholesale. I think is the name of the book.
Right, and
which is one of the all-time great names, honestly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, I hate that they always change the Philip K. Dick titles because they have such great titles. Like do Android do
Android's Dream of Electric
Sheep?
Yeah, it was AI. Yeah,
and that becomes Blade Runner. Like,
oh no, that's right.
Come on.
No,
I mean, but it does track though. Sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, I got mixed up. AI is Super Toys Last All Summer Long.
Correct.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
See, they're fun titles.
Incredible titles.
They kept Minority Report though. That was that's a Philip K. Dick, and that stayed through.
That sells. That's a title that sells.
It is. You know what else sells? Putting Tom Cruise front and center on your poster.
I don't know, because all the people that I've talked to about this movie, which is just my roommate, she says, I don't want to watch this movie because I don't like Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise is a very polarizing figure, particularly these days. Where does everybody stand on Tom Cruise these days?
Look, I'm indifferent, really. Like, there's some shit of his that I really like. Like, I really like The Color of Money. I think that's really a fantastic film, and I think he's fantastic in it. And there are other movies that he's in that I think that he does some really fantastic work. But overall, I don't really care. Whatever. Like, I don't wish bad upon him. Like, I wouldn't say I'm like a fan. I'm not like, oh, the new Tom Cruise movie is out, I gotta go see it because Tom Cruise is in it. But also, it will not keep me from seeing a film. I'm right there in the middle. Don't care.
I would lean towards the not a fan of Tom Cruise side. There was a time, like in this era that we're talking about, this movie, he did a lot of very good, very high concept sci-fi stuff.
Oh, Vanilla Sky, dude.
Vanilla Sky was like 7 years before this.
I was going to say
that was like late 90s, but I just thought of that for a second, and like that was another.
We can go through this time of his career because it's kind of a low point for him. I want to. Andrew, go ahead and keep going, and we can circle back to this. But
yeah. So it's hard to separate the fart from the fartist, and this guy does a lot of farting, out his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So
he also does a lot of jumping on couches that belong to Oprah,
and the whole short man syndrome thing. I just kind of see it in the movies that he takes now. And how he's just so obsessed with his own franchises. He doesn't really take a lot elsewhere.
He's not. I don't see him as an actor anymore. I know that's definitely how he sees himself. And I think at one point in his career, he was a legitimate powerhouse of an actor. Now I see him. He's a movie star. He is one of the last that we have, but now he is a movie star. You look at like some of the roles he was taking in, particularly like the late 80s, early 90s, stuff like Born on the 4th of July and Jerry Maguire. Even 99, you get Magnolia, which is one of my favorite of his performances.
That's a really good one too.
Where he was literally just handing himself to directors, like really great directors, and saying, I don't know, just use me however you want, like whatever you want. And it was more willing to take risks. And I feel like he hits an age and he just kind of stop. I think the last time he really had that kind of a collaboration was with Spielberg. He does Minority Report and War of the Worlds with Spielberg.
Yeah.
He does in between there. He does do Michael Mann's Collateral, which is fucking incredible.
So that's one of probably top 3 Tom Cruise performances for me, and it might be number 1 actually.
He's amazing in that one.
Fantastic in that.
And I love Minority Report. Absolutely love it.
That was good too.
It's so good.
That was good too. I think the last time that we really saw Tom Cruise, the actor, was Tropic Thunder.
I was going to say that might be my number one. I was just getting ready to get to that. But the first misstep in this era is in 2007, the year before Tropic Thunder. He does the Robert Redford film Lions for Lambs, which kind of goes nowhere. That was an Oscar play that went absolutely nowhere. The next year,
Is he good in it though? Should I see it?
I couldn't tell you, man.
Because I don't care about Tom Cruise, but when he's good, he's good.
Yeah,
like he's good in something. I want to see it.
It's him. It's Meryl Streep. It's Robert Redford. Redford directs.
I like Bobby Redford.
You got Michael Pena, Andrew Garfield, Peter Berg up in that mug.
You just don't like Meryl Streep. That's all it is, Steven. It's that you don't like Meryl Streep.
No, I have not heard anything good about that movie.
Kevin Dunn. Nice.
Yeah. Transformers.
I might check it out, actually. Yeah. I might check it out.
We don't really know the order of that, him actually doing that Lions for Lambs movie, because compared to everything else around that, it could be years between shooting and being on film. But a movie like Lions for Lambs could be released same year.
Yeah. It also feels like something you could also maybe sit on a shelf for a little bit and then just pull out and edit right around Oscar time.
Right.
To try to get an Oscar. And then, of course, Tropic Thunder, which is one of my favorite performances. And then after this, we get kind of the nadir period, which is Valkyrie by He Who Must Not Be Named, directed by He Who Must Not Be Named.
Is that good, though? I always wanted to see that, but I never got around to seeing it. Is it good, though?
Nah,
it's not good.
Nah.
Damn. It looked cool. That trailer looked cool.
He straight up plays a Nazi in it. It is one of the first time he works with Christopher McQuarrie, though, because McQuarrie was He Who Must Not Be Named's guy for a long, long time. They did Usual Suspects together, and McQuarrie's one of the writers on Valkyrie. And so here in a couple movies, when Tom Cruise needs like a boost, he calls up his buddy Chris McQuarrie, and then Chris McQuarrie just becomes his guy. After that, he waits a couple years and then does Night and Day, that terrible spy movie with Cameron Diaz.
Yeah. I never saw that because why the fuck would I?
Yeah.
Exactly. The forgotten James Mangold movie is what that one is.
Well, I like him, though.
Yeah. He's made a lot of other really good movies, and then he also made Night and Day.
Yeah, well,
and then you get
let me lose some.
Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which is the one where they're like, I think this is not Tom Cruise's franchise anymore. We're going to give this to one Mr. Jeremy Renner, which we've talked about on this podcast before. This was the time when everyone was trying to make Jeremy Renner the franchise guy.
I'm still rooting for him. It's going to happen for him, Steven. It's going to happen. Mark my words. One of these days, Jeremy Renner is going to get his own franchise, and I'm going to be sitting here at my house going, Renner.
They try to hand him Mission Impossible. It doesn't work because Chris McQuarrie comes onto that one and it's basically like, no, I mean, this franchise is Tom Cruise. You need Tom Cruise, and basically writes the script around the indispensability of Tom Cruise. Like that whole movie's about, you know, who's the best to ever do this job? Ethan Hunt, the guy that Tom Cruise plays, is pretty much the conceit of that movie. After that, another nadir, Rock of Ages, where he plays Stacey Jacks. He's not bad in the movie, but everyone else is terrible, including Academy Award nominee Paul Giamatti.
Yeah,
I did not like that movie,
but I have heard things about it because the original Stacey Jacks on the stage version was developed by Chris Hardwick, former host of At Midnight. And
Nerdist's own Chris Hardwick.
Talk Soup and
he was on G4 for a lot of stuff, but he's not actually associated with Nerdist anymore. He sold that to, I think, Legendary.
Right.
He was he's doing his own thing now.
Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, his own Chris Hardwick.
Well, he did that Walking Dead after show for several years.
Oh yeah, he did.
He was the king of the after show for a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
He had like the proto Tosh.0 too, like one of the earliest internet shows, and I forget what it was called.
The Soup.
No,
The Soup is talk shows.
It was Web Soup, which was a web version of Talk Soup. Yes.
That's what it was. Yes. Yeah. I remember that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
he had a bowl cut.
Yeah, he did.
Yes, he did. But I was an adamant watcher of Web Soup. Loved Web Soup. After Rock of Ages, Cruise does Jack Reacher, which does kick off a mini franchise. That one he does work a sequel out of that one somehow.
Mhm.
And then he does this movie and then Edge of Tomorrow. And then after that, he pretty much, after none of those really hit the way that he wants them to, he pretty much goes into franchise mode. It's after this, it's Rogue Nation, the Jack Reacher sequel, The Mummy. See our previous episode on the Dark Universe's The Mummy. He does American Made, which is kind of the rare non-franchise movie that he does, a Doug Liman movie, which feels like a favor to Doug Liman.
Should I see this? I'm
If
sorry.
you
That's my whole line. This entire podcast. Should I see this Tom Cruise movie that's never been on my radar? Just based on the experience I had tonight with another Tom Cruise movie I'd never seen but really enjoyed.
I've been keeping that. Oh, that's not a person's name I recognize quiet this whole time. But Tucker, you're just laying it out there.
Like, should I watch this though? I think I will. Put it on my list too. Go ahead, please.
After American Made, it's Mission Impossible Fallout, Top Gun Maverick, and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And then coming up, he's got apparently the sequel to Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat. There's a SpaceX project he's working on. And Dead Reckoning Part 2.
They're going to go in space, Steven. Like, Tom Cruise is going to be in space, but in a movie. But he's really going to be in space, though.
That sounds like the ultimate Tom Cruise project. And guess who's directing it? Doug Ma-fucking Liman.
It's your boy, dude, from American Made.
He's done other stuff. Do I need to do a Doug Liman sidebar?
Nope. I mean, maybe, because I don't recognize the name.
It sounds like I might need to do a Doug Liman sidebar. Okay.
You're doing it right now. And you
Speaking of Tom Cruise in space, I could not find the evidence in this, but I remember when it came out and looking it up, they talked about filming some of this on the Vomit Comet.
Yes, you can tell, like the stuff where he's like in 0G right there at the end, where he's like falling through. Yeah, it absolutely, that is 100% something he would insist on doing. Yeah. Doug Liman, director of Swingers, Go, The Bourne Identity, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Jumper, future episode of this podcast, Jumper,
I can't wait.
Edge of Tomorrow, and this is where he gets into the Tom Cruise game. Edge of Tomorrow, The Wall, American Made, Lockdown. In previous episode, Chaos Walking. I forgot that he directed Chaos Walking. God, that's such a forgettable movie. Is Chaos Walking.
He directed that new Roadhouse, man, with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Roadhouse.
Can you believe that?
Roadhouse.
I kind of want to see that because but your boy he's ripped, dude. Jake Gyllenhaal's ripped.
Roadhouse.
I'm gonna watch it.
Of course you are.
Stay tuned. What are we watching for when it comes out? I'm gonna watch that Roadhouse.
Degree in philosophy.
Yeah, dude. Way into that. I am kind of joking, but also I do like characters that the duality of those kind of characters. I think it's really interesting. Even as something as cheesy as like a martial arts expert with a philosophy degree. It's still kind of interesting. I don't know. I have fun with that kind of stuff. Low key.
Which, I mean, really, Hollywood screenwriter majored in philosophy is just he's going to like pull out a couple Sartre quotes in really weird circumstances. That's really all that means. Just an excuse to like, pull out a Roget's it's Bartlett's familiar quotations and, turn to some, Roget's is the thesaurus guy. Yeah. Bartlett's familiar quotations and turn to some philosophers and just scribble their quotes into a screenplay. That's really all that it means.
I think, therefore I punch.
There go. Correct.
I can't believe this guy directed Swingers. That's nuts.
Yeah, man.
You're gonna memento mori.
Memento mori right upside your head.
Yeah.
He did not direct Oblivion, though.
No, he did not. No, that was Jonathan Kosinski, who his only credit previous to this, at least in terms of feature films, is Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
That's
pretty all right.
He also directs, after this, he does Only the Brave, Top Gun Maverick, and the Miles Teller, Chris Hemsworth movie Spiderhead. I don't know
Okay.
anything about this movie, but
Me
apparently,
neither.
yeah.
It's a Netflix movie, I believe.
Oh, that's why I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Look,
You would have to market it to have heard anything about it, and Netflix doesn't
Right.
market. So
no.
Netflix is just like,
Look,
you're here anyway, right?
I get why this guy has a career, because when you come out the gate with the commercial he came out with, that Gears of War Mad World commercial, I don't know if you guys remember that,
Oh, yeah. That was a good
but
one.
damn,
Yeah.
like sometimes you didn't want it to come on because you're like watching a show and you're having a good time, and all of a sudden this motherfucker comes on and you're like, oh shit,
Right.
fuck, this is heavy for 30 seconds. Whoa.
I mean, I found it kind of
Whoa.
funny, but also kind of sad.
Shut up, Steven. But no, I see why he has a career, honestly. And Tron Legacy, I think, as far as a technical feat and as far as the directing goes, is something to be proud of too.
Yeah,
It's
this
pretty
is
rad.
a big image director too when he comes out, like Tron Legacy and Oblivion. Those are two
Mhm.
big widescaping big concept movies. Even if he doesn't exactly have a lot of skill in writing dialogue.
Yes. Yeah, and I was gonna say, for all the visual stunningness of this movie, and he is a visual stylist to be sure. I'm not a big fan of the way he directs action,
Mm.
and I'm not a big fan of the way he writes dialogue. I found big chunks of this movie really boring, punctuated by these like really stunning vistas, and it
Yeah.
was maddening, just absolutely maddening.
Yeah, and that level of dialogue is about what you expect from video games. Because you expect that video game dialogue is kind of clunky and kind of cliche,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we get there. Action
Yeah.
directing is another point, and I was starting to think about like the way they shot. It's like most of these action scenes, they really didn't require more than one actor in the scene at a time.
And this is one of the early previs movies. Like they prevised
Mhm.
the shit out of this thing. And they did it honestly. I think it helps the visuals, like it helps like the scenery and the like the movement and the motion. It does nothing to help the action
Yeah.
because it all just feels very rote and by the book. It doesn't, at no point do I feel like really suspenseful about a lot of the action here.
Yeah.
You know, and when you go to a Tom Cruise movie in particular, because he's the guy who does the stunts, he's said in interviews he sees stunt work as a form of storytelling, which is why he as an actor has dedicated himself to that aspect of the craft in a way that other actors of his ilk have not. You expect some degree of action, like maybe not Mission Impossible levels where he's like, you know, driving a motorcycle across a canyon, or the Mummy
Yeah.
where he's jumping from building to building by himself, but you know, some level of action. And this is really kind of disappointing by those metrics.
Yeah. It doesn't help that the big one-to-one combat scene in the movie is where you can only show one face at a time
Yeah.
because it's Tom Cruise fighting
'Cause
himself.
He's
Correct.
fighting himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh no, that gun went off.
But and I think some of the aspects of the filmmaking there are clever, but it also the cuts are so quick. Like the editing is so, whereas none of the editing has been that way up to that point, that it almost
Right.
feels like distracting at that point.
Right.
Because they want to do as much of it in camera as possible, which I respect the hell out of. In the year of our Lord 2013, you are wanting to do things in camera.
Mhm.
God bless. I want to see it. But by the same token, like, come on, you got to do a little better here.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, I got a new TV over the last year, and I finally went beyond just like the base level televisions.
Mm-hmm.
And this Sony that I'm watching it on, everything looks so much better. And all these features and the look of them all held up.
Yeah.
Really good looking props. That the ship prop specifically is just beautiful. Every part of it. And you can tell
That
it's
bubble ship looks
articulated.
great.
Yeah, it's articulated because it moves around and they leave the camera still when it does that.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
They do. So the one thing that they really just could not shut up about on the special features for this, because I have it on DVD, because I I got it from my dad when my mom was like, your dad needs to get rid of all his DVDs. And my dad's like, don't you get rid of my DVDs. So I'm like, fine, I'll borrow these for a while, Dad. And I basically took any movie I knew I was going to cover on this podcast and then a few others that I just wanted, like Black Panther. I'm like, I'm just going to grab these. So Oblivion was part of my haul because I'm like, well, I know I'm going to cover that. And I also got, like all the Jack Ryan movies because we can cover 2 of those here. Plus, I like the first 3 because Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, and Clear and Present Danger. Yes, please.
Oh, yeah. I forget those are Jack Ryan movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had this on DVD, and so I watched the special features. Apparently on Tron Legacy, they really hated filming in front of green screen because glass doesn't show up on green screen. Or like it disappears when you have green screen. So you have to go in and in post, you have to digitally add all the glass back to every shot. And so like, well, fuck that. We don't want that. So what they did is they built 42-foot high, like a white muslin that surrounded the set of the Sky Tower.
Yeah.
And they filmed the sky. They just filmed the sky in all different weather conditions at all different times of day. And then they projected that onto the white muslin so that the sky, when they were filming, they were literally just filming as they would. And then they got to keep the glass in. You could see like the sky and the movement of it in the actor's eye line and stuff. They didn't have to like digitally add any of that. And like, that was like the big effect they were really proud of. And I'm like, that's the kind of practical shit that I love to see. Like that makes me so fucking happy to see that they did that.
That's fantastic.
Right. And I think the movie benefits from that. Like, cause it looks really fucking good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
The Sky Tower specifically looks very good. I mean, you would think like a big sweeping action movie, you'd want to be out of the base, but I almost wanted them to show more things that happened in the base.
It looks very hermetic. It's very like it's like Apple Store kind of like look to it, right?
It's like if the Apple Store was made in the 70s with like a sunken rumpus room.
Yeah. And then the original one is blue, and then apparently 52's is like an amber color, apparently. So like they changed it just a little bit. They tweaked it just a little bit so you know it was an actual different place. But not so much that it really like stands out in your mind.
I assumed that the one up in the snow-covered mountains did not have a pool.
I would hope not. Or at least if it did, it was heated. Yeah.
I couldn't tell if they were inside or outside when they were doing the pool stuff at the beginning.
I couldn't either. I didn't care. But yeah, Angela Riceborough is very pretty in that scene. So yeah.
Hey, do you guys think we should do the plot?
We're almost an hour into this episode. We've talked about almost everything else but the plot.
So do the plot, then wrap it up. I'm into it. No, JK. Let's do the plot though.
Look, we've done that before. We will not do that this time. I'm sure we have more to talk about. But for those of you who do not know, this is the plot in 60 seconds. This is the part of the show where we, usually at the behest of either the Coin of Justice or the D6 of Destiny, will decide who will recount the plot of this film in 60 seconds or less. But when we do have a guest, particularly one as accommodating as Andrew has been for us, we do like to toss it in their direction to see if they have the mad skills to pay the bills, as it were. And Andrew, when I asked him, you said, "It is my duty." So,
yes, thank you. Thank you, Stephen, for Tucker's service.
Yeah, that's what I do. So I have
long-term listener callback.
You did it. You came full circle, man. Right here, right now. This is an important moment, you guys.
Truly, you love to see it.
Absolutely.
I've got 1 minute on the clock. Andrew, I will give you the 30 and 10-second warnings as I often do.
Yep.
And your time will begin whenever you do.
And away we go. Dream of modern day New York, featuring a woman that looks kind of like Katie Holmes, but then wake up next to a woman that looks like Nicole Kidman. Take a shower. Time for a lore dump. Scavenger aliens have attacked Earth. Humans held them off but had to nuke the planet, and now they're all going to the moon of Europa to keep the human race alive. Meanwhile, Tom Cruise is a drone repairman that has a lot of time between drone repairs to collect books and records and create an oasis. He repairs one down drone specifically, but still missing
30
in
seconds.
others. So he takes off on a motorcycle. Don't worry, though. Drones are attack. He falls in the public library, gets attacked by scavs. He has a very sexy dinner with another shower. He ventures out for more missing drones. He finds the tower sending a signal out. That signal sends a ship with survivors back to the
10
ground.
seconds.
Drones come and kill all the other survivors. Yeah, drones come and kill all the other survivors. They meet Morgan Freeman and the rest of the people, and then they take off and destroy the bad guy in the end.
And that's time. And an ending pulled right out of Welcome to Earth itself, Independence Day.
Yeah. Oh, with another wonderful switch, it's like, oh, this is not the coffin you think it is.
Right. Yet another in a long line of misdirects in this movie.
I'm reading 2 life forms. Yeah. Yeah.
Too bad you can't tell sex by those or gender by those.
Right. Or even weight.
Age?
Age, yes.
Anything?
Bone density. Amount of tar in the lungs.
Blood pressure, maybe.
Right. Something. History of hypertension? No, nothing at all. Like, yeah, it. I don't know. I feel like there are so many aspects of this movie that if you think about any one of them just a little too hard, it kind of starts to unravel a little bit. That said, I think the world building is rad as hell.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm never going to watch this again, because I can tell it's one of those movies that I had a fantastic time with. And if I watch it again, I'm going to start getting critical with it. And then I might not like it as much. Like that happened to me with Amazing Spider-Man 2, man. The first time I saw that movie, had such a good time. But then I watched it a few more times and I'm like, this movie really sucks.
I think
I want to.
That was my impression the first time I watched it.
Right, same.
I want to cherish this.
Yeah, and I could say that if you don't mind cliffhangers going on forever, you could watch the first 75% of this movie and still come away with that excellent reaction. You know, just to the point where we know something's not right, but we don't have to go through all the action movie stuff and action movie dialogue to actually get to that point.
Yeah, completely agree. I feel like, and again, I feel like the marketing for this movie really did it a disservice in a way that that almost kind of spoils the movie. Like, we really just need to see stuff from like the first 30 minutes of this movie. Capture like the feel, like get Tom Cruise and some drones, like get a feel for like the beginning of the day, like some shots of the beautiful vistas, and that's it. Get in, get out, like set a tone and get out. But like the international trailer reveals that Melissa Leo's the villain of the whole thing.
Yeah.
The international trailer's like, you don't have to die. She doesn't have to die. And you're like, well, I mean, that's clearly Melissa Leo talking with a heavy, overdone Southern accent.
Yeah.
It's the Dick Van Dyke Cockney accent of modern day sci-fi accents.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what those AI voices sound like, right?
And I love it. Just like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins, I loved it. I loved how like over the top and ridiculous it was. You know what though? I hear what you're saying about the trailers, but I didn't see the trailers and I only saw the poster. So if you're someone who saw the poster, it's Tom Cruise and Morgan Freeman, but Morgan Freeman isn't dressed like he is in the movie. He doesn't look anything like he does in the movie. He's dressed similar to Tom Cruise. So that's why I was even more misled because I never saw the trailers and I expected Morgan Freeman just to be another guy that like Tom Cruise knew or teamed up with at some point.
Sure.
So that reveal to me was like, I saw the poster. What the fuck is this? What's happening right now?
Yeah, it's a wild movie. Like again, and there are several posters where the entire poster is just like a vista from the movie. There's at least 4 of them where the entire poster is just a vista. And I'm like, you know what? This movie
Yep.
kind of is like concept art, the movie. Like
Yeah.
someone drew a bunch
Mhm.
of really cool shit, and then we put it on camera. Like that's 95% of what this movie is.
Yeah, dude.
And then
I
there's
don't have
like
a problem with
fucking
most of that.
clones out of nowhere. Like, okay.
Right, that's the kind of movie that you end up with 2 motorcycle scenes for.
Mm,
Yeah.
yes.
In a time when you have a very nimble spaceship, you choose to
Mhm.
go off on a motorcycle.
Yep, absolutely. Why? Because Tom Cruise likes to ride motorcycles. Look,
Yeah.
we all saw Mission Impossible 2. We know how the man
Woody-
feels about a good motorcycle chase.
Yep.
Ooh, I like Mission Impossible too. That one's
And-
so much fun.
And when you watch this movie, you get an idea how he feels about some good motorcycle goggles.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though they stole his bike the first time, he still managed to keep his goggles with him.
Correct.
Hey, you guys, what do you suppose is the fuel for his motorbike? Do you think it just runs on standard gasoline, or?
Well, Energon, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, like I said, I missed some of the exposition because
Right.
I was so time crunched on this movie. I was doing things. I'm fully engaged in other activities while watching this movie.
Right.
It is a very Decepticon modus operandi for the villains here.
Correct.
Yeah, we want to take all the resources of the planet and store them. So might as well be Energon.
Yeah.
Word.
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of one of those things, or like electricity. Just, this is the future of Elon's America, I guess.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, look at the Earth as it is there. That's the future billionaires want for us. So they live up in their sky towers, and everyone else is, fighting drones or dead. Take your pick.
Yeah, dude. Or a clone.
We've gone a ways talking about Tom Cruise here, and there's a very important part in his timeline that doesn't show up on his IMDb page, but it started around the same time that we did. I'm talking about the couch jumping.
Yeah, we mentioned the couch jumping. We did not elaborate on that. Yes.
Okay.
I did.
Jumping. Okay, couch jumping happened like War of the Worlds stuff.
It did, yes. That was in the promotional material for War of the Worlds. I have a feeling it's the reason why Spielberg and Cruise never worked together again.
Oh,
Yeah.
Come on.
And then that was the start of his relationship with Katie Holmes, because he was jumping on the couch about how much he loved Katie Holmes.
I mean, wouldn't you be if you were getting with Katie Holmes, though?
2005 Katie Holmes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, look, I don't want to be devil's advocate here, but it's
2024
Katie
Holmes too. I mean, if we're being honest,
just
but
any Katie Holmes,
at
all.
And really, I mean, they were still together while he was shooting this movie, likely, because they split up in 2012.
Right. That is actually the daughter at the end.
Yeah.
The Who's That Mommy? That is Suri Cruise. That's her one acting role, as I recall. So
really, that's her only act.
Or at least I think the only one, or maybe her most recent one. But
yeah, I don't know. I know she wasn't credited in the role at the end of the movie,
right?
But she was credited on IMDb later, and I remember seeing like a kind of updated picture of her on IMDb.
Yeah,
but
she is her mother's daughter for sure.
One of Mr. Cruise's assistants may have done something about that.
This is her only acting role to date. This is the only one.
Yeah, well, good for her. It's like you got to latch on when you don't have an actor nepo baby that also wants to act or direct in multi-million-dollar roles as their first try.
She does have 2 music credits on IMDb, though. One for the soundtrack of the movie Alone Together. She performed Blue Moon. And then another one in the film Rare Objects, where she is performing vocals as Suri. So
you guys,
maybe she's trying to break into music now. I don't know.
Speaking of Nepo babies, I got a big surprise this week. I watched the GQ did one of those career retrospectives with Josh Brolin.
Oh.
And he was talking about getting the role for Goonies. And he was talking about, like, as an actor, he didn't, he went out and probably did over 300 auditions before anybody even started to call him back.
Right.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, like you're Josh Brolin. Like that last name means something, and you still have to go through like over 300 auditions to land something. And it, like, we know Josh Brolin's got the goods. We've all seen it.
Right.
I just thought I was
It's-
really surprised. I mean, we talk shit about Nepo babies all the time, and like for good reason.
Right.
Yeah.
But that just I kind of saw it in a different
And it's not like
perspective.
he grew that jawline at 50.
Right?
He had that jawline when he was going for those
He
first
had it in
auditions.
Goonies. He
Yeah.
had it in Goonies,
Yeah.
dude. Like,
Yeah. You know, I saw that article. I didn't read through it, but the headline on the article I saw was that Josh Brolin is going to stop bashing the director of Jonah Hex.
Future episode of this podcast, Jonah Hex.
I can't wait. My roommate loves that movie for some reason.
I didn't hate it.
Is that the one we should
I
have her
haven't
on
seen it.
for?
I haven't seen it. Oh, well, I can't be on. We can't be at the same place at the same time.
No,
Steven.
that's a bummer.
It's never been proven that we're not the same person.
I was gonna say, are you guys the same person? Because that's pretty wild.
Straight up, maybe.
Straight up, maybe.
What do you, kitty cat? Damn. Screaming his dick off.
Very stressed is the kitty right now.
Mad as hell, dude. He's not going to take it anymore, dude.
Oh, he's not. He's had enough of the shabby treatment.
He's done.
Yeah, no, look, I think there's a lot to like about this movie, but then there's also just a lot that I don't at the same time. So I'm kind of two minds about it. Like, I love how it looks. Like, it looks visually incredible. I think Tom Cruise is doing some decent work here, but by the same token, he's also not really giving me much. Like, it's serviceable, but it's not like really impressive. He feels a little flat in a way he almost never does. Like, it's weird.
They also don't do a lot of the height trick that they do in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
Like, it is obvious that he is much shorter than Morgan Freeman and Jamie Lannister.
Mm-hmm. And when Olga Kurylenko comes up to hug him,
Yeah.
they're about the same height.
Yep.
Like, her role, by the way, was originally supposed to go to Jessica Chastain, who had been cast in the role. And she, at the same time, also got cast in another little movie called Zero Dark 30. And she basically asked Tom Cruise, like, hey, can I, the lady who just won the Oscar for The Hurt Locker wants me to be in her next movie. And Cruise is like, yeah, you're good. Go ahead. And basically, like, release her from her contract so she could go do it. And like, that's a really nice guy move right there.
Yeah. I mean, that throws a lot of water on my dream girl is actually Katie Holmes theory.
A little
if
bit.
That was the original casting.
Yeah. I don't think Andrea Riceborough was not originally in contention, I think, for that role. I'm trying to look and see. Haley Atwell, Diane Kruger, and Kate Beckinsale were who they were looking at for that one. So three very different types. No, for Victoria, for Vika.
Oh, okay. Look, I've never seen the gal that plays her. I've never seen her in anything else, but I thought she was fantastic in this.
She was. Yeah. She is. She's in Quantum of Solace, the James Bond movie, and she's in Black Widow. She plays the villain in Black Widow. Spoilers for Black Widow.
I did see that, but I don't remember her. I might have to watch it again.
Well, that character spends 95% of the movie in a mask, and then at the very end takes it off, and surprise, it's a scarred up Olga Kurylenko.
Oh.
She's also in the first thing I saw her in was probably Terrence Malick's To the Wonder, which comes out the same or the year before this does. And also Martin McDonagh's Seven Psychopaths. So, and she's also in The Death of Stalin, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, and Extraction 2.
Extraction.
How disappointing was that Terry Gilliam Don Quixote movie? You guys,
I haven't seen it yet. I can't bring myself to watch it yet.
Don't, Steven, just don't.
I'm going to. I have to.
No.
I'm not excited about it though. You know what else she was in?
Because we've been waiting for
Tucker?
so long. We waited for it.
You know what else Olga Kurylenko was in? A movie that we both wish we could forget. The Timothy Olyphant Hitman movie.
Oh yeah, that wasn't very good.
That was a bad movie, is what that was.
It was what inspired me to finally play the Hitman games after so many years, and I did have some fun with those for a little while.
We made Brett record a Oops All Video Game Corner for that episode.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good
Brett's
times.
like, do I have to? And we're like, damn it, Brett, yes.
Yes, indeedy.
Is Olga doing? Is this Russian language stuff that she was doing?
Probably, yeah. I mean, she is she is from the Eastern Bloc there. Well, I don't.
Yeah.
Let me check
I
her.
thought she was like Ukrainian or something. Ukrainian French, I think, right?
Ukrainian French. That's what it says in her profile.
Hey,
That is Eastern Bloc. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Born and raised in Ukraine, moved to France at 16. So there you go. So yeah, very, very probably was into a lot of that stuff before crossing over into American film, or at least English language film. But yeah, what else? What else do we? Oh, she's also in future episode of this podcast, Vampire Academy.
Wait, vampires aren't made; they're born.
But what this movie presupposes is, what if they aren't?
Yeah. What if the vampires went to an academy?
I mean, we've got school for magicians. We've got school for mutants. What about school for vampires?
Yeah, I mean,
Is this
hey,
anything?
in the Harry Potter universe, there are vampires. What if they had their own school?
This is kind of one of those. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea, man. Yeah. Yeah. What else you got? Yeah, kind of one of those things.
You guys, Vampire Academy is awful. It's on my Voodoo if you want to check it out. Is that a future episode of this podcast?
That is what I said.
I cannot wait.
I said that. We can cover that and Cirque du Freak, the vampire's assistant, in the same month if you want.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I believe it.
I can't wait.
But
like fun bad because like I don't know, it's so dumb.
You could probably cover Renfield too if you really wanted to.
Oh, I liked that one.
You'd have vampire theme month.
Yeah.
I don't know. Since it like does the scenes from the original Draculas, does it count as a sequel to the original Dracula?
I don't think anyone would
consider
it a sequel to the original Dracula.
They use the scenes from it though. It's supposed to be a continuation of that Dracula's story. You've seen Renfield, right? We all seen Renfield, right?
No, I've not.
Fuck, Steven. Why'd you let me keep talking, man? I just ruined it for you, dude.
Like, I can stop you from talking.
No, dude.
It's within the realm of expectation that
Andrew,
one vampire would be treated exactly like the other vampires.
Have you seen it? Andrew, have you seen
I have not. I heard a lot of people talking about it, but I haven't seen it.
You guys, I totally spoiled it, and I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I wish that I could delete it, and then you guys would remember.
Now I don't have to see it because Tucker just spoiled it for me. Apparently, that was the best part of the movie. Apparently, the best part of the Renfield movie are the parts from the Bela Lugosi movie.
That's not the best part.
The black and white parts that were silent. Those were the best parts of a movie with Nicolas Cage.
Far more than implied that the Dracula in Renfield is the same Dracula from the 1931 Dracula.
I mean, there is a similarity between Nicholas Hoult and Dwight Frye. They do share a similar aesthetic sensibility.
Did you guys know that I played Renfield once in the stage version of Dracula?
I played Dracula once. Yeah,
it was my first ever acting role.
That's I'm not surprised that you played Dracula, Andrew, with that wicked widow's peak you got there.
Yep. I have a widow's peak made for villains.
You really do.
You did it.
In fact, I think one of the first shows that we did together, you were playing a villain. Now, a villain with his head entirely shaved, but a villain nonetheless.
So I went to a very small high school in that theater program, so I was always on the good side because they had most of the lines. But then we did Music Man my freshman year, and I somehow got cast as the lead villain in Music Man. And I went all in. I said, I'm going to shave my head because he is supposed to have been tarred and feathered.
Right. One of your lines was, your hair doesn't grow back, and you take off your hat and you've got a cue ball thing going up there.
Yes. It was the first wait because, they couldn't, imagine that a small college person would dedicate their hairstyle choices to a play.
Really went method there, man.
Yeah, especially because it was winter in Chicago.
Mhm.
No.
But you set a standard, because then a couple years later, when we did You Can't Take It With You in the fall in Chicago, our mutual friend, future guest of this podcast, Dan Allmiller, shaved his head like basically like our theater prof, who was balding, very heavily
That's
balding
right.
at the time. So you started a trend in that theater program for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember having teachers that were fully male pattern bald looking at me the first week I went to class. It's like, why did you do that? Your hair only lasts for so long.
I mean, look, I've shaved my head for the better part of a decade, and I've got so much of it right now, I don't even know what to do with it all. So,
Steven, your hair looks fantastic. Don't ever
Hey,
do
it
the
does look
bald
good.
thing again. It looks so good.
my partner will not
So
let me do the
good.
bald thing again. So,
Good. We stand united. Solidarity.
We will support you in your sweating.
yeah, and there's a lot of that going on, let me tell you.
Yeah. Adds to your natural musk, Steven.
God, I'm musky enough. Let's true word.
One thing, since I mentioned the Music Man, it came to the Music Man naturally. The director of this movie is from Marshalltown, Iowa, which is one of the 8 towns mentioned in Iowa Stubborn.
Dubuque, Des Moines, Marshalltown, Mason, Keokuk, Ames, Clear. I missed one.
Yeah, Dubuque, Des Moines, Marshalltown, Mason City, Keokuk, Ames, Clear Lake. No, that was it, right? That's
Okay.
8.
Okay,
Yeah.
I missed the city. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Mason City. I missed Mason City. I just said Mason. But yeah. I love Iowa Stubborn. That might be my favorite song in that whole musical. And that's a song. That's a musical with a lot of good songs.
It's a very high bar for great songs in the musical. Yeah.
But yeah, I've done that show twice. Neither time have I been on stage for that show. I did. I was stage crew when we did it our freshman year at college, and then when I became a teacher, I was assistant director.
That's a shame, because you were born to be Marcellus.
I kind of was. I have the vocal range, which is to say none at all. So
good thing half the songs in that musical are patter songs.
Yes, they are
talking to the rhythm.
Because the original Robert Preston, the original Harold Hill, was not a singer.
Yeah, they trained him up for Then There Was You, but not a singer.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's because when I assistant directed it, the kid at the high school that I was at was an actual very good singer. So what does the theater director do? She chooses back-to-back musicals, Music Man and My Fair Lady, 2 shows where the male lead does not have to sing a note. So it was really frustrating.
Yeah, I bet.
The music teacher's like, why are you doing this to me? this kid can actually sing. What are you doing? But those were 2 of her favorite shows. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. This movie was nominated for some awards.
Was it now?
It was. It was not nominated for a Saturn Award, which is the highest echelon of sci-fi movies.
I was going to say you would expect it to be. Yeah.
Yeah. It was nominated for a Teen Choice Award, which, I mean, I like the movie. I can't imagine a teen sitting through it.
No, Teen Choice Awards strike me as one of those award shows that you could buy. You could probably buy a couple of nominations.
Look, if this came out when I were maybe 15 or 16, I probably would have dug it. I was starting to get into film though, so like this would have been like, kind of like Parents with like all the influences like there, but I don't know the influences, so like this is my first. I would have dug it.
I'm looking through these awards. My favorite is from the Alliance of Women Film Journalists. Yep. This movie is a nominee, does not win, but is a nominee for most egregious age difference between the leading man and the love interest. Tom Cruise at 51, between Olga Kurylenko at 34 and Angela Riceborough at 32.
Yes.
That's not bad.
I looked up the full award. It lost to a movie called Las Vegas, which features one 69-year-old Michael Douglas
and
33-year-old Brie Blair.
Oh no!
Morgan Freeman's in that movie too.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's Alan Arkin in there too.
It's one of those old guys go out and do stuff movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like The
Like they're
Crew.
past their prime and they're
Right.
gonna do some stuff.
Now,
And it's
Robert De
funny
Niro,
because they're
Morgan
old.
Freeman, Michael Douglas, and who's the fourth guy? Kevin Kline. It's not.
You know what's funny
he's in the
is
other
that
one.
Morgan Freeman's been doing old men do things movies since like the mid 2000s.
Mhm.
Homie, how long have you been old? How old are you?
Yeah,
It's one of those. Yeah, he's one of those guys who's just been like Dick Clark was that way when I was young. I felt like Dick
He's
Clark
been
was old
old
my
forever.
entire life.
Yes.
Yeah. He was old man in Shawshank.
Yes.
Right.
That was the 90s, I believe.
It was.
Yeah.
The one with Alan Arkin I was thinking of is called Going in Style, which is Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, and Alan Arkin. That's the other one that I was thinking.
Okay.
Another one of those old men doing stuff. This one directed by Zach Braff.
I can see him directing an old men doing stuff movie for sure.
Yeah.
Old men reflect sadly on their time in New Jersey.
There you go.
Zach Braff.
Natalie Portman comes up. Do you want to hear a song that's going to change your life?
In a fucking helmet, no less. This bitch in a helmet. Get out of here.
She's so quirky. Hey, just raise your hand if you saw some titties today. That's all I want to know. Garden State. God, that movie's unforgivable.
Yo, that soundtrack was banger though, man.
Probably better
Good-ass
than the
soundtrack.
movie.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I think I've heard the whole soundtrack, but I'm not sure I've seen the whole movie.
You're not missing. Honestly,
Yeah.
I watched that movie and I was like, I don't think I need to see any more Zach Braff movies. I think I'm good.
I watched it when it came
Clerks.
out because it was kind of on my radar. It was in my,
Same.
and I dug it. I will admit that I dug it when it came out, but kind of like High Fidelity, like as time goes by, I connect less with the characters, so I don't enjoy the films as much.
Yeah. It doesn't age quite as well as you want it to in some
Like
instances.
I grow as a person, but the movies don't grow as a person. So,
Yeah.
You keep getting older, the movie stays the same age.
Yeah. Growing
Alright,
as a
alright,
person,
alright.
though, if you want to stick with High Fidelity, read the book because that's much more a person about our age.
Yeah,
Yo,
see,
but hey, have you guys seen the TV show? Is that any good?
I haven't seen
I
it.
haven't seen it. I've heard good things, but I haven't seen it.
Word.
I'm not a big fan of the movie though, which I know has
Yeah.
caused some consternation to some of my friends.
Look, I
But,
think
yeah.
it's a really well-made film, and I think all the performances in it are fantastic. But I think after you reach a certain age, it just isn't appealing anymore.
Shouldn't
Yeah.
be.
And that's actually part of the plot of the book a little bit, is that like
Mhm.
he's too old to be doing all this breakup and reorganizing his albums over again. And like what actually happens there. But anyway,
As you-
we've mentioned someone who collaborated with Ben Folds, and so I am required to talk about
Hey.
Ben Folds for a moment.
By law,
Yes.
You are.
Bruce Hornby, Nick Hornby. That's the author's name.
those are
Did a-
both people.
Yes. One is an actual musician, one is a writer.
Correct.
Who wrote High Fidelity and Pitch Perfect, which is not a book about baseball. It's a movie about baseball that they
And
adapted
about a
for
boy?
American. And about a boy, yes. Yeah.
Yes, about a boy.
Can't
It's the
believe
one
I
I
got that.
Yeah.
You guys haven't thought about that since the 90s.
Right.
You're
So
okay.
he did a record called Lonely Avenue, where Ben Folds wrote all the music and Nick Hornby wrote all the lyrics. And it is fantastic. One of the songs is about Doc Pomus, who was a famed music producer. Can't recommend that enough. I've seen Ben Folds in concert more than 10 times.
Yo, also
I think you're the one that
sort
got
of
me
Ben
into Ben
Folds
Folds. Yeah.
fan here. That's not the only time he's done that. He did that with William Shatner as well.
Yeah, I love
Have you
Has
heard
Been.
that record Has Been?
I love
That's
Has Been.
You guys,
Yeah.
I try to get people into that record, but they just can't get past the
Yeah.
surface level of it. And I'm
The
like,
pulp
no,
cover?
dude, there's so much there. You guys, it's
Yeah.
The
so
pulp cover
good.
is next level.
The pulp cover. There's actually 2 addendums of William Shatner and Ben Folds collaboration. There's one he did on an album called Fear of Pop, which was just an experimental thing. And William Shatner does some speaking roles on one of those albums, and it's quite nice. And the other one is the best version of his probably second most famous song, "Rockin' the Suburbs," on the As You Have Promised Me future episode of this podcast, Over the Hedge.
It is. It is.
Rockin' the Suburbs in that movie?
Yes.
Ben Folds does the soundtrack for that movie.
Yes, he does.
Oh, man.
And there is a kid-friendly cover of Rockin' the Suburbs over the end credits.
Oh, I love that music video to Rockin' the Suburbs, you guys.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Weird Al as the producer with computers.
Well, it ends with
the
it ends with the Korn parody.
Right. The
With
Freak on a Leash video,
the light coming in and the fucking drums, the water coming off the drums. Yeah.
Anyway,
it's just a really good video, I think, and the backward acting is pretty decent. Like, you gotta give credit where credit's due on backward acting. Like, that's not easy. It's very, very hard.
Backward speaking, yeah. Backward singing, even.
Yeah, inward singing. What?
Inward?
Unless you're Michael J. Anderson, backwards talking is fairly difficult.
Word. This is true.
But yeah, other than that gum we like coming back in style, what else do we have to say about Oblivion? We've kind of been off the beaten path on Oblivion for a while now. What else do we have to say about Oblivion?
Except for Steven. Steven didn't like it, unfortunately.
I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I had some issues.
That's fair.
Yeah. So the scene where he is sitting in that football stadium that's wrecked and he is talking about this game, he said, like, I read about this game, because that's the way you learn. So just a broad volunteer, if you ever need a sports correspondent, I am very interested in accepting in sports. So I looked up, about 2017, which is, when the world ended for them. And if this was the National Football League, that would have been the Patriots Stadium for about 2017, which would be about right.
What's that in Boston?
Yeah. I mean, if he's in New York and he's got that fancy ship, so then
Right.
that would be Foxborough. Yeah.
That's not far. Like the city, Boston's not far from the city. It's like 3 hours.
Yeah. The thing is that the Super Bowl is always planned a few years in advance for its location.
Right.
Andrew, we don't have clearance for that. We have to call it the big game.
Yes. Okay. The big game.
Haven't been cleared.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You know what?
Please continue.
The movie also did not get clearance for this because they put a year on the championship instead of Roman numerals.
Yes.
And
sneak.
World champion 2017. Wait, is it so? Is it the team that won, or is it the stadium where it took place? Because the stadium actually says 2017 world champion.
That's the other confusing part, because they don't play the Super Bowl on the home team. So
it's not random, but it's like decided far before.
Something that no one told us in Indianapolis, because when we got a Super Bowl, everyone thought the Colts would automatically be playing in it for some reason.
I mean, turns out they
understand that.
I mean, it worked out in the end, I guess.
Eli won.
Yeah.
Eli won in his brother's house. So yeah, I guess.
Yeah, dude, it's all in the family, man. When you're here, you're family.
That's it.
Unlimited breakfast. Yeah, unlimited breadsticks at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah.
That was I looked it up for that. So that would be a mistake, because they put in the banner of the team that won. So assuming that the team won, that they played that game where they won, would be something that you would mistake by reading about the game instead of experiencing it.
Right.
So that was understandable.
Did you say maybe he was wrong? Maybe he was wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Also,
theory.
That wrecked football stadium did look pretty cool, though, just hanging out in that crater.
It did. It would be neat if the other techs were fans of different Major League Baseball teams too.
Yes.
Like, where is our Atlanta Braves tech?
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming he would be probably somewhere around Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Love that for them. So yeah, the movie ends with the clone showing up. I rarely do this, but I watched the How It Should Have Ended video on YouTube for
Oh,
this movie.
oh,
And I got a chuckle out of it because 52 shows up and's like, I am Jack Harper. And then like 54 shows up and goes, I am Jack Harper. And then next thing you know, there's like 50 Jack Harpers all standing around. And the little girl's like, are you my daddies?
no.
And he's like, oh yeah. And I also brought all of these ladies as well. I hope that's okay. And she turns around and there's like a sea of Angela Riceburrows.
No.
That's great. That does remind me. My significant other did say that it was really weird that Tech 52 showed up at the end. And
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna take over as the family now."
Exactly. Yeah. Because he's like, I know I'm not him. Like 49 says, I'm not him. But
Mhm.
then 52 shows up. It's like, good as that guy, I guess.
Yeah, and the whole time, or when they went to the Oasis the first time, Olga's character had the big speech about, "Oh no, you're a real boy. It doesn't matter if you're a clone. The
Right.
memories you have are real."
Exactly.
So
But how do
it
we
doesn't
know
quite
that?
jive with that.
I mean, I guess we know that he's had similar memories because when he sees her,
Mhm.
like when 52 sees her, he also like stops and kind of pauses, which is what allows 49 to get the drop on him.
Yeah.
Because he's just as surprised to see her as 49 had been. So maybe this is just something that all Jack Harper, like maybe it's a flaw in the Jack Harper clone.
Yeah. That would make sense.
That
It would be a thing that if they had an 8-episode series and the first 2 episodes were nearly identical, that they could really hammer home.
exactly. And I feel like a series is probably, and I, again, that kind of opens it up to the franchise potential of this is we pick up from another Jack Harper, another tech somewhere else who's having, similar issues. And obviously he can't run into Julie unless his ship takes him into
Yeah.
that area for some reason and he happens upon them. Like there's no way for us to tell really.
Well,
But I think it would be interesting.
You know what would be a really cool idea for a TV series, like a multiple season series, would be if like for like 5 or 6 seasons you get different versions of Dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the last season they like all come together and
Avengers Assemble. Yeah.
fight the thing. Yeah, but it's all Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Just one has a bandana, one has a little hat.
One's
You
got
know,
goggles,
Eye
yes.
patch. One of them has an eye patch.
Yeah,
eye patch.
yes.
We're
One of
required
them
by
is
law for
Stacy
one of them to have
Keach
it.
somehow.
Yep. They have one, the tech that's based out in the middle of the ocean is the one with the eye patch because he's the pirate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh God, yes, absolutely.
Wow. I'd watch that. I'd watch the shit out of that.
We get Bermuda shorts, Tom Cruise in there too.
A lay.
Yeah. Hawaiian Tom Cruise.
Right. With Tom Cruise with the flannel on.
Yeah.
Cocktail Tom Cruise. Like Aruba, Jamaica.
Yeah. We've got one of the techs that's just wearing the top part of the costume in white briefs.
Yeah.
White tuxedo Tom Cruise. We could do this forever.
Yeah. There are enough Tom Cruise movies. We could do this forever.
Look,
that's why I can't believe. Look, the person that is leaving money on the table is the person that is not pursuing a line of Tom Cruise action figures, each with like different costumes and accoutrement for his different roles over the years.
Do you know how much he is going to charge for his likeness, though? Those things wouldn't be impossible for those to make money.
Yeah.
No, because there's so many. Look, you've got stuff for the cinephiles. You've got stuff for the mainstream audience. You've got stuff for the genre audience. He's been in enough genre stuff that, like, I'm just saying, the audience is there. He's got a crossover audience.
I
many
want Legend Tom Cruise. That's the one I want.
Do it. It'll be there. You best believe it'll in today's in like the zeitgeist of pop culture where everything is like a big deal. Yeah, it'll get made.
Hey, Steven,
Hey,
how did this movie perform in the box office?
I'm so glad you asked. Well, it opens on April 19th, 2013. It opens to $37.1 million in its opening weekend, on its way to 89.1 domestic.
Did
So
this movie not do well?
not domestically. It's got a $120 million production budget.
Yeah.
It earns only 89 million domestically. Now it does earn
That's fucked up.
almost 200 million internationally, for an worldwide box office of $287.9 million worldwide, which is I guess a worldwide profit, but it doesn't do quite enough domestically to really warrant a sequel. Although within the past year they have been talking about an Oblivion sequel. So
I don't know what that would be.
I mean, it could just be any of the stuff that we just talked about.
Well, with
Different
this director getting that Top Gun sequel doing as well as it could,
Oh yeah,
he might
that
have a
was-
blank check,
I
and
was
this was his
set,
pet
dude.
project.
He is fucking set. That movie made
Yeah.
so much money, and in the year that it made money, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like Tom Cruise
People
is the
are
savior
rich
of
because
cinema.
of that movie.
Yeah.
People have remained rich because of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Kids are being sent to college because of that movie, dude.
Yeah.
Several children.
Mm-hmm. And they probably don't
Thousands.
deserve it. They probably will not value that education.
They're no Josh Brolin.
No.
That much I can tell you.
It opens at number 1 in the box office. At number 2, after 2 weekends in release, down from number 1 the previous week, starring the late, great Chadwick Boseman. It's 42. One of those Chadwick Boseman plays a black
the baseball
icon
movie,
biopics.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that one and the James Brown and what was the other one?
Thurgood Marshall.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
He's then in third place, holding steady at 3 after 5 weeks, is The Croods, starring Renfield's own Nicolas Cage.
People love those animated movies,
Mhm.
man. Families be loving it.
In fourth place, down from 2 the week before, something tells me this is where the bloom is well off the rose. It's the 5th Scary Movie 5.
I didn't watch past the second one. Honestly.
I couldn't
once
get
the
through the
Wayans
first
brothers
one.
bowed out. Once the Wayans brothers bowed out, I was like, nah, there's nothing keeping me here.
After the Rick Ducommun scene in the first one, I was kind of like, I'm out on this one. I'm good.
I didn't really like either of them, but sometimes you have an obligation. And I have an obligation to the Wayans.
Sure. And finally on the top 5, the reason why we can't do G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra on this podcast, it's G.I. Joe Retaliation. Having already earned over $100 million at the box office.
Isn't Snake Eyes also the reason you can't do G.I. Joe?
Oh, we're going to do
There's
Snake
3
Eyes.
of them, right?
Oh,
We're going to do Snake,
That's a
because Snake Eyes is a
spin-off?
spin-off. Yeah.
Okay.
oh.
Snake Eyes is an
Which-
attempt at rebooting G.I. Joe.
Which one has Jogo in it? That's the one I want to watch.
That's Rise of Cobra. That's the first one. That's the one we could have done had they not made G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Damn it.
Rounding out the top 10, we have The Place Beyond the Pines at 6. Olympus Has Fallen at number 7. Past episode of this podcast, The Evil Dead remake at number 8. Jurassic Park 3D at number 9, which I 100% saw in theaters. And in 10th place, another past episode of this podcast, Oz the Great and Powerful.
Hey.
The tomatometer score on this movie is a 54%. Critics' consensus: visually striking but thinly scripted, Oblivion benefits greatly from its strong production values and an excellent performance from Tom Cruise.
Perfect
Well,
summary.
but I don't.
Perfect
I mostly
summary.
agree.
Yeah.
It is, and I agree with everything that they said, but also this is kind of the perfect summer movie, and I don't know where they fucked up.
By releasing it
Honestly.
in April.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little too early.
Didn't catch on to that.
I mean, also,
This is a blockbuster. This is constructed in a way that makes it feel like a late 90s, early 2000s blockbuster.
I
And it
mean,
feels good.
the next week you've got Pain and Gain opening, but
Oh,
this
whoa,
movie,
that was such a cynical fucking movie. Did you guys see that movie?
nah.
What the fuck, Michael Bay? Jesus, I'm
But
trying to
then the
defend
week
your ass,
after
and you
that,
make Pain and Gain.
you've got Iron Man 3, and Iron Man 3 pretty much eats this
Oh,
movie.
Shane
to
Black,
watch. Yeah.
no.
Yeah, and Oblivion just starts dropping week after week after that. And then 2 weeks after Iron Man 3, you get Star Trek Into Darkness. So, it's the franchises, man. They come in and they clean up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I understand the problems that people may have with this movie, but it feels like it deserved to make more than it did.
I get you.
And if it would have, it's odd because it didn't use I can't pronounce the actor's name, but the guy who played Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones, because Game of
Nikolai
Thrones,
Coster-Waldau.
yep, it started big in 2011. So, and he was still big in
Right.
2012, and he was in that show. So I don't think that the marketing used him is all.
No, you don't have him on the poster. You barely have him in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, you also don't. I mean, Angela Riceborough is about a year away from Birdman at this point, and she's still not an actress. A lot of people know. Or Olga Kurylenko the same. So you really can't sell it on either of them. But yeah, Jaime Lannister, Nikolai Coster-Waldau, he's not on any of the marketing material at all. Honestly, he probably should have been on the poster over Morgan Freeman. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, that would have been a better surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But no. But Nikolai did have a fancy apocalypse scarf that he wore.
Yes, he did.
Nice.
He and Zoe Bell show up at the end too. They're all like, "Hey, we might be a couple. We'll never tell." Looking a lot like Sawyer and Juliet in that last season of Lost. There when they show up at the end.
Oh yeah.
For all my Lost people out there, I actually didn't care for the last season of Lost, but it was a show I watched till the end. The Metascore on Oblivion is also 54, based on mixed or average reviews from 41 critics. And the Letterboxd score is, want to take a shot at it, Tucker?
I'm going to say it's somewhere in between 2.9 and 3.3.
It is a 3.1, almost on the nugget.
Fuck. Yes.
Out of 5 stars on this one. Andrew, as our guest, how would you rate 2013's Oblivion?
Well, I don't really like the 5-star rating system.
Okay.
So
that's fair. Me neither, honestly.
Yeah.
I've just been afraid to say anything about it.
Here's the rating system that I do like that's used by a site called Real Good, which is really used for like tracking.
Mm-hmm.
It is I have watched it, I like it, I love it, or didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would put this in the liked it. So I said that in the wrong order. The lowest is dislike it. The next up is I watched it. Then I like it. Then I love it. So a clear like it for me.
Okay.
I would say that I could watch this movie about every 5 years and forget about the bad parts about it and be satisfied.
I'll convert it based on a Roger Ebert 4-star rating system.
Okay.
If I may translate into the 5-star, that feels like a 3.
It would be like a 3.75.
I was going to say a little higher, maybe like a 3.75.
Yeah. I'm going to say 3.5. Let's do 3.5.
3.5 for you? I'll go 3.
Boys? No. I was trying to. Mine is a 3.5, but that's not what I was saying. But here we are. Here we are. We made it.
Math. This is why we need the Tet to come down and do all our math.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, 3.5. I had a lot of fun with this movie, you guys. But then again, like I say, don't ask me to watch it again. But like you say, Andrew, though, like maybe in 5 years.
Yeah.
Because with the way that I consume things now, nothing sticks the way it used to. So like the statute of limitations between like a movie surprising me, even though I've seen it, has grown much shorter. So maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe even 2. Who knows?
I mean, you did move it
shorter, man.
You did move it from Chuffa to no Chuffa. So
Yeah, because I think it's a pretty well made film. I think everybody's doing a pretty good job. Like, is it the best thing in the world? Nah, but it's pretty fucking cool. I had a good time with it.
I do hope someone gets to that director and shows him what they've done with video games and open world video games. And maybe
Get
he
that boy with
says,
Remedy. Like, get
yeah,
that boy hooked up with Remedy. Get some shit going on. Let's do it.
yeah.
I'd play that game for sure.
Well, that is our episode on 2013's Oblivion. We did it, everybody. We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
We're still toasting.
We're just so proud of ourselves for doing it. Andrew, thank you for coming on. Of course, if you know that if they do end up doing a sequel to this movie, we are obligated now to cover it. And if they do, you are obligated to return to discuss the sequel with us.
So, it is my duty.
It is your duty. Tell the people who have enjoyed listening to you where they can find you on the internet, what stuff you're up to. Just let us know where we can find you, man.
So I'm on most social media as Frozen Cusser. That's a take on the popular dairy dessert in St. Louis, frozen custard, except Cusser. Yeah.
You're one who swears. You're a
Frozen
frozen thing that swears.
Yes. Made with eggs, and I swear.
Very
I like
cold,
all of those things.
Lots of fucks. Yeah.
You'd follow me
into it.
Yeah. I am on Instagram and Zitter and Blueski. I have adopted that name and that pronunciation from it thanks to this podcast.
Hey.
And back when they were requiring invites, I required anybody who got one of my invites to pronounce it Blueski for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
Much to Steven's chagrin.
Right. What hath we wrought in this place?
I admire your commitment.
God, we've got a lot to answer for, I think.
I do want to say I would be remiss to not promote my dog's Instagram account.
Oh,
that's,
please
do that.
Beaver.dog.
Right now.
Beaver.dog. All right.
Yeah,
Tucker
not the word
following
dog.
that now.
Yeah.
Beaver dog.
Yeah.
Oh.
My significant other does a lot of work in a garden, and so she takes pictures of beaver in the garden.
Oh, that's a cute ass dog, though. Look at this dog. Shit. That's a cute dog. What kind of dog is that, man?
Brown.
Sweet. All right.
No, it is. We've gotten the DNA, and she's not more than 17% of anything.
She's a mutt.
A true mutt.
Look at this fucking dog, Steven. Are you seeing this dog?
Oh, no, I have.
Look at this sweet ass dog.
When Andrew and his SO came to Chicago last year, we all, my partner and I, and he and his SO, we all went out to a really great place up on the north side of Chicago and had dinner and some drinks. And I saw so many pictures of the dog, the progeny, just all of it. Yeah.
Instantly followed that dog's Instagram.
She does a good job. She does a real good job of it. And sometimes I show up. But,
fun.
Much to everyone's chagrin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Andrew, thank you so much. Let us know if there's anything else you want to cover, and we will definitely, you know what? At some point, we're going to cover the Richard Linklater Bad News Bears, and as a sports aficionado, it feels like one we need to have you on for. So,
yeah, I have not seen it, but I am interested.
Me too, because it's Linklater, right?
Yeah, no. It's Richard Linklater. Yeah,
Billy Bob Thornton.
Correct.
Like I could see that going real well. I've always kind of wanted to watch that movie, but my interest hasn't been high enough to really pull the trigger, but I'm pretty sure I'd have a good time with it.
Billy Bob
Can
Thornton...
we cover it sooner than later? Because I kind of want to watch it, but I need an excuse. You know what I mean?
I mean, it'll probably be a few months. We've got like most of the rest of the, at least through September, we've pretty much got on the books at this point. So
fuck, dude.
Billy Bob Thornton just teaches master classes in adult behavior around children.
That was kind of his thing for a while. Like he had that and like Mr. Woodcock and Bad Santa.
Yeah.
And Badder Santa.
No, that doesn't exist, Steven. Why would you even mention that? You know how I feel about that movie. Why would you bring that up unless it was to intentionally hurt me?
That's kind of why.
Why would you do this? Why would you do this, Steven?
That's kind of the reason. Yeah.
No, dude. I thought we were friends, but now I see how it is. I see the real nature of our relationship.
Steven is negging you with movies.
All right. Okay. No, that's cool. That's cool. No big deal.
5 minutes later.
Oh,
All right.
Okay.
Technical issues resolved. Yes.
Yep, I can hear
We're
everything.
back. Hey. Yeah, so we ran into some technical issues, so we're just going to land this plane. How's that? This has been the Disenfranchised Podcast.
Wait, Steven, just real quick. Because this is probably the best receiving audience from past guest Landon DeCrastis and future guest Dan. I just want to apologize for thinking that I was too cool for improv in college. Because I was a very serious person back then.
You were.
And I am not now. I realized the error of my ways of serious personness, and now I just want to have fun and make jokes with my friends. And that's what you guys knew all along.
I mean, we kind of, I mean, I know you presented as a very serious person, but like when we were hanging out in your guys' dorm room playing Hero Quest all through junior year, like,
oh yeah,
didn't seem that serious.
I thought I was too cool and serious for the improv troupe, but I wasn't. It was you guys that were too cool for me.
No, I hung out with us regularly. I'm sure it wasn't that. Anyway, thank you for saying so. It's untrue, but very appreciated. This has been the Disenfranchised Podcast. You can find us on most social media platforms. I'm going to spotlight Blue Sky, Instagram, Letterboxd, YouTube, and Facebook at Disenfranch Pod on all of those. Please check us out on YouTube. We are also, I want to say, dropping regular episodes of this podcast for free on our Patreon at patreon.com/disenfranchpod. You can listen and engage with the episodes directly on Patreon. And if you want to slide us an extra $5 a month, you also get access to copious behind the scenes content, including but not limited to our weekly episodes of What Are We Watching, a show all about what we're watching. We also do occasional episodes of like Oops All Video Game Corner. We mentioned the one on Hitman earlier in this episode. Oops All Christianity Corner, where I unpack a lot of religious trauma as it relates to a movie. Like we have a good time back there behind that paywall. So check us out, patreon.com/disenfranchpod. Andrew, you're a patron. What's your favorite Patreon feature?
I really like the What Are We Watching? It's funny that about the time that you guys started that, I started keeping a spreadsheet of everything I watched over the year. So it was kind of funny to like start things up or see like, oh yeah, I knew that. That was great. Or that wasn't so great. You're going to find out soon.
Hey man. Like, do you want to do a What Are We Watching?
I could do that. I could pull up the old spreadsheet.
That? You want to do one after this?
No, I can't. I'm sorry, not tonight. Not tonight. But I'm saying we should do one though, like when the next couple weeks.
Okay,
sure. One together. You guys into that?
We usually do one every week, so yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
And
if you're
also
into that, we'd love to have you on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'd be up for that. Also, you guys are my workout buddy. You guys are the podcast that I put on when I work out and exercise.
Nice.
Something about these grating voices just makes you want to run a little faster and pump a little more iron. I get it.
Everybody tries to get away from me, so
when I see those faces, I'm going to punch them so hard. In fact, let me practice on this punching bag right now.
There you go.
No, we appreciate you listening wherever you listen. That is awesome. Where else can you find it? When you go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Amazon Music or what's the other one that we're on now, Tucker? YouTube Music?
man. Yeah, we're on YouTube Music. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we just added a couple of new ones, but wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you give us a nice 5-star rating and review. That really goes a long way to helping us find more listeners like you. And if you do go so far as to leave us a 5-star rating and review, we will read it aloud on this podcast. But no one's done it for a couple weeks, which is why we haven't read any in a couple weeks. So, yeah, but we will. That is my promise to all of you. I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky at Chewy Walrus. You can find the absent Brett Wright on Instagram and Blue Sky at sus_.
Now Brett's on
Warlock.
Bluesky.
He's
on,
also on
man.
Letterboxd at sus_Warlock as well. Except no underscore on Blue Sky because they don't like it. Tucker, where are you these days? I know you're not on Blue Sky.
You motherfucker. You guys, look, what Steven said before is correct. I recently published the most recent episode, main feed episode of the Disenfranchised podcast on our Patreon on a free tier, which means that you can join our Patreon without giving us any money. And the Patreon is the official place to comment. That's the official conversation. Like, we don't want the responsibility of like moderating a Discord because that sounds like really stressful.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
So, like, what if y'all just like came to hang out on our Patreon and you don't even have to pay us?
If you want to, that's great, but you don't have to.
And you don't even have to listen to it there. You could listen to it on your podcatcher of choice, and then like while you're listening to it, just leave the comments on the little Patreon thing.
Yep.
I'm just saying that's the place where we're going to be checking comments. There's so many podcatchers that allow comments. Like, we would be spending our whole week looking through all the podcatchers just to see if we even had any comments.
And look, we don't have that kind of time on our hands.
We don't. I wish we did. If I had the kind of time to spend on that, I'd love to devote every waking second of my life to this podcast, but I just can't, Steven. I just can't.
I know. I'm right there with you, man.
So anyway, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Ice909. That's ICENINE, the number 0 and the number 9. Also on Instagram, you can check out Tuck Mugs, because why wouldn't you? Honestly, Tuck_mugs. Check out some mugs.
Andrew's left us a couple mugs.
At least a few.
2.
More than one.
2. Yep.
And
One from.
Please send us more. I have an official Tuck Mugs announcement. The Hamburg Brewing Company pint glass that I featured on the page several months ago passed today.
No.
It was in the sink when my roommate carelessly tossed a coffee cup in there and smashed it to pieces.
May its memory be a blessing.
Yes, it's still on there. Go to Tuck_mugs and go and see that pint glass and like that post.
Remember it as it was, not as it is. Can we get your roommate to submit the mug that broke that glass?
It's the Hannah's one that I submitted a couple weeks ago.
Oh, so it's a
little road trip.
Both
perpetrator,
perpetrator,
Tuck Mug on Tuck Mug crime.
Look, it's
perpetrator and victim both represented.
It's to be fair though, it's kind of a thick mug.
It is. That one is a thick boy for sure.
It's like, it looks like it holds a lot, but it doesn't, because it's so thick.
She thick though.
Doesn't hold a lot. It do be thick though. Anyway, Tuck Mugs, Tuck_mugs. It's the best place on the internet. Like, you don't need a doom scroll. Just come to Tuck Mugs and let's just talk about mugs. Like, who cares if the world's on fire? Let's just talk about mugs.
Let's talk about mugs, baby. Let's talk coffee and tea. Let's talk about all the beverages that are hot that we pour. Let's talk about mugs. Let's talk about mugs.
You know, Tuck, next mug that I submit is going to have a picture of Beaver in it.
I'm into that.
Love that.
Way into that.
Love that. And we'll make sure to promote both your Instagram and Beaver's as well. Love that.
Yeah. Yes, I'm way into that.
That's awesome.
Let's do it. Submit that ASAP, please, because I need another reason to push forward the post I've been putting off since December, because it's like 5 minutes of work that I'd have to do. So
I mean, I'm only 2 back at this point, so
it would take
Eh.
me 5 minutes, but who has that kind of time?
Not you, apparently.
No,
I
not
kind
in
of want to submit
2024.
my Dune popcorn bucket, honestly, even though it's not a mug.
Ooh.
Oh, hey, did you see the SNL sketch?
Yes,
on
I
the
did.
Dune popcorn bucket?
Yes, I did. But yeah, here's
Is
my
that real?
Dune popcorn
They
bucket.
said it
Oh,
was real. Is
man.
that real?
Yeah,
Steven,
I'm holding it right now. Look
didn't.
at that.
Did you? You didn't.
I did. Of course I did.
You had intercourse with that bucket?
Oh no, I didn't do that.
Oh, okay. All right. I was like, I mean, I guess respect, but like also what?
You're like, you didn't. I was like, I absolutely bought it. It's right here in my hand. You can
Well,
see it.
okay.
No,
I
I'm not
see
going
the
to
confusion
fornicate
now.
with a popcorn bucket.
I mean, do they still
Oh,
have the
now that-
liquid butter pumps?
I'm just saying, now that I mentioned it, you might be
They
thinking
don't.
about it.
They don't come with the bucket, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, okay.
Somebody come with the bucket, but apparently it's not you, Steven.
It won't be me.
Let's get the fuck out of here, guys. That's
I know how
we're-
you
we're-
Hoosiers like your popcorn.
We're punchy
Orville
AF.
Redenbacher's hometown, motherfucker.
Yeah, buddy. Anyway, this has been the Oblivion episode of the Disenfranchised Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, from my co-hosts, Tucker and the absent Brett Wright, and for our very special guest, Andrew. Until next time, we'll see you at the tower in the sky.